And here we go.
Sports!
I listen to you guys all the time.
It's awesome.
I'm in the mood for one of your classic anecdotes.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
All right, that's enough. Hey guys, there is someone I want you to meet.
Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun on Off the Hook Sports. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net.
Look, we're all part of the same team here.
Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
It's time to be done with the phrase second round wreck. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. Some Sweet 16 action as we look forward to the weekend and wrap up what was, I think, a great weekend for Tennessee. So a lot on the program today, this day in Tennessee sports history. Also, we will have the stat of the day. We'll visit for a moment, and we appreciate that, with our former Vols, Steve Hamer, will join us. And we always look forward to that. He'll give us some insight from the Post, we should call it. I haven't thought about that, but that would be a good name for it. We'll get to, did Rick Barnes shed second-round Rick image? Tennessee will face Kentucky in the Sweet 16. They beat them twice. What does that mean? We'll get into that whole conversation. You can't beat a team this blank amount of times. That typically happens. Also, Tennessee's athleticism, underrated. The SEC dominates March Madness. I did not see that coming. I'll admit I was wrong. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good. In general, before we really dive into it, please hit that like and subscribe button. What did you think of the weekend for Tennessee? I mean, it has to be garnered as just a monstrous win overall from not only a competitive standpoint, but a PR standpoint. You're in the conversation with 2 more tournaments for a week, and I think that's significant.
I think so too. And it's becoming a regular thing now for Tennessee to try to have both programs in the Sweet 16, which is a good sign for them. I with the Lady Vol, both games were concerning. And so for Tennessee to win both games, and not just win both games, Lady Vols and men's side, but to win them rather convincingly, I would argue. I mean, that UCLA game was a 9-point game, but if you watch that game was over midway through the second half. I mean, it was over at the 15-minute mark. And the Ohio State game, Tennessee did let Ohio State back in the game on the women's side, but then pulled away to dominate. I mean, what stood out to me is that I thought the Lady Vols would lose their game, and that UCLA was very concerning, and neither team threatened at all. And that's what really stood out. So Tennessee's dominance is actually as exciting as anything for them.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And I hadn't really thought about it like that. So today's tough question brought to you by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. The show was represented by banksandjones.com. Let me ask you this, Caleb. Has Rick Barnes officially shed the second round Rick moniker?
Yes, 100%. This is his 3rd straight season in the Sweet 16. I mean, I don't know how you could have second round Rick moniker when you get out of the second round 3 straight years. Now, Rick Barnes did one other time get out of the second round 3 straight years, and that was during the period when he made the Final Four run in 2003. I think it was like 2002, 2003, 2004. Maybe it was 2001, 2002, 2003. He made the Sweet 16 3 straight times. But this moniker came because starting in 2000, I think 2008 was the last time he had gotten out of the second round. Then from 2009 to 2019, he never got out of the second round. And then he got out in 2019. So a 10-year period. While that seems like a lot, Dave, we got 3 of those years, 2016, 2017, and 2014, he didn't make the NCAA tournament. And I think we got to look back and say, okay, so there were 7 NCAA tournaments he coached in where he didn't get to the second round or get out of the second round.
Somebody's been doing some research.
Well, here's where it gets interesting.
I did that last week.
People forget this part. Between making the national title game in 2000 and and winning it in 2006, Billy Donovan never got out of the second round. He had a 5-year period where he never got out of the second round. And okay, so 5 straight years out of the second round, and then all of a sudden he wins back-to-back national championships, and no one has that moniker for him ever again. And the reason I'm bringing that point up is like, this is an NCAA tournament. It's a crapshoot, okay? It is such a crapshoot, and sometimes a crapshoot can just be unlucky for you in certain ways. It's like the it reminds me of like how everybody always called the Braves choke artists in the playoffs under Bobby Cox in the 90s and 2000s. No, they weren't. It was the playoffs in baseball is a crapshoot. It's a literal roll of the dice.
It truly is. I mean, the Dodgers have been the best team for the last 5 years, and they've only won one World Series.
Exactly. So, and that's how the NCAA tournament works.
I would say of all sports, the two that are most a crapshoot are probably Major League Baseball and the NCAA tournament, right?
NCAA tournament's third. The NHL playoffs is number one.
Oh, okay. Well, you can at least get a hot goalie. You know,
That's
and
true.
a hot goalie will carry you, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a hot shooting team advancing in the tournament. It just, at the end of the day, the better team can lose a lot. And the better team may lose when Tennessee plays Kentucky. So I'll ask you this, today's tough question. Should Tennessee fans be happy with what they already have, which is a Sweet 16 run? Let's make that the poll question as well. Here we go. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now take it. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, Caleb. So how much does this change Rick Barnes' legacy, if at all? The fact that he's been to the Sweet 16 3 consecutive years at the University of Tennessee. I wrote, if you didn't have a chance to check on offthesports.com, that his legacy should be incredibly intact, but for some not. What does this do to his legacy? Brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
I think it does. I don't think it does much for his legacy to this point. It does a lot for him in terms of people in the know covering college basketball. And here's why. Rick Barnes, we thought he was a teacher of the game, stressed fundamentals, but wasn't going to be the X's and O's guy to get Tennessee out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. We were wrong. And I want to be clear on this. For those who watched the UCLA game, Barnes made an adjustment to do that 3-quarter press. Did it with 5 minutes to go in the first half, and UCLA never recovered. I mean, they never recovered when Tennessee did that. And Barnes had that ready to go and dialed it up at the perfect time. And it was the perfect adjustment because remember this, and I want to point this out. That was not the UCLA team that Rick Barnes or Tennessee scouted. UCLA all year played with 3 guards, a wing, and 1 post player. They put 2 bigs out there. In this one, they had the 7'3" center, 8A Maya, and they had their Tyler Bolado, their top scorer, both in the post. They were trying to exert their will against a Tennessee team that had really not shown anything in the post all year, and they thought they could get an advantage. And Rick Barnes made them pay. His decision was, if you go play big like that, I can then turn up the press because you don't have the athletic guards out there that you typically have that we thought that would give Tennessee trouble. And he knew exactly where their issues would come. And it worked like a charm. And he started it in the final 5 minutes of the first half. At the 15-minute mark in the second half, the game was over. It was over. And that was all Rick Barnes coaching. I didn't think he'd be able to do that because he didn't just do an adjustment that he had prepared for. That's an adjustment that he had to think of on the fly because UCLA was doing something that nobody had scouted to that point.
Agreed. I'm going to give you another reason why, man, Rick Barnes is just a great fit at Tennessee. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones, Banks and Jones.
Caleb, I find it very interesting that Tennessee needed a coaching adjustment over the weekend. And we've all said to ourselves, is Rick Barnes too old? But I would argue, heck no. I mean, heck no. If you look at what he's done in adjusting to the transfer portal, if you look at how he handled the game on the weekend, he was willing to be flexible, pliable. He was willing to do different things. Man, that just typically doesn't happen with a coach that's 70-year-old plus. And I think Tennessee needs to be darn happy they have him.
Oh, I agree. And I think this weekend showed he's definitely not too old. And this is where you kind of make this comparison. And I think Tennessee is the most apt situation for this. Could you get like a type of coach, like if you fire Rick Barnes, which you're not going to do, but if you move on from Rick Barnes, like the only step above that is like the Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams level, right? That's what you're going for if you move on from Rick Barnes.
Well, that's a little high, but okay. Like Bill Self.
Bill Self. There we go.
Okay, that's doable. I mean,
yeah,
Krzyzewski's been through, I did the research, been to like 13 Final Fours. That's okay. Nobody's expecting that.
Right. Okay. So if you move on from Rick Barnes, like the next level up is Bill Self. Fine. Maybe you can get a Bill Self. But more often than not, you're not getting a Bill Self. You're getting somebody closer to Buzz Peterson.
Right. So we're sitting here talking about the coaches that Tennessee could shoot for. That doesn't mean they'll get them. John Gruden.
Yeah. And this is the thing with this is where basketball is different from football. Don't make perfect the enemy of good in basketball, right? And if this is football, yeah, you shoot for the equivalent of Bill Self in football. You shoot for who you think is the next Steve Spurrier or whatever that can win. Like, you're not shooting for the next Nick Saban. That's impossible. But you shoot for maybe the next Dabo Swinney. You know what I mean? Or somebody like that can get you a national title or two.
Okay, well, that's the whole get is tough to me.
But that's what I mean. That's what you shoot for in football. In basketball, you got a good coach, you settle. And you don't make perfect the enemy of good. And Rick Barnes has you consistently in the Sweet 16, consistently performing well. He's proving that he's an X's and O's guru who can make adjustments on the fly. And this is my big thing, and this is what I've been saying for a long time. This era is set up for him to thrive. This era of college basketball where you can go in the transfer portal and find like one guy, a Chaz Lanier, and maybe miss on a guy like Darlington Dubar, but find a couple of guys even that they're really good players, but they want to fine-tune one part of their game to try to get to the NBA at the higher level. Nobody can do that better than Rick Barnes. And this is where I think there's a reason he's made 3 straight Sweet 16 appearances.
Yes, and Unsung points out that Barnes does have the most wins among active coaches. Well,
more than Tom Izzo?
Yeah, I mean, maybe active now.
Are we talking about I think he means like in the NCAA tournament, but
yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
But like that may not. Let's see, he has more than Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo has 700.
I'm not sure that's holding up, but
he does actually.
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah.
By
the way, Tom Izzo is proof though of when we talk about the NCAA tournament being a crapshoot. We look at Tom Izzo as a legendary NCAA tournament coach who does an amazing job. He's got what? I'm sorry.
Okay, I do not. After doing the research last week about Barnes, but it's funny you say that. I would have, if you'd asked me that 7 days ago to the mark, I would have been like, yes, I do look at him as a legendary coach. Now, really, after doing the research, I don't.
Well, like he's made. We forget about this, but like he's got one national title, and it was 25 years ago. And someone pointed out when he won it, the Baja Man had the hottest song in the nation at the time.
I love the Baja Man. I was listening to that coming into the studio. Actually, you don't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? So the reason that's so interesting is that Tom Izzo is considered like just this Hall of Fame caliber. Like people almost do put him in the same sentence with Roy Williams. He's got one national title 25 years ago, but he always makes a run. Mark Few's never won a national title, but I think Mark Few does a heck of a job at Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament. The point I'm making is this tournament is such a crapshoot. And if you had a choice, Dave, between, let's say, Mark Few at Gonzaga or Tony Bennett, who won a national title at Virginia in 2019, but you have a choice of someone to lead your team in the tournament, you're taking Mark Few. Even though Tony Bennett has a national title, the ball just bounced his way that year.
Yes, agreed. So here's Colton has an idea for a new poll question. What would be the bigger disappointment? Bowing out in the Sweet 16 or going 0-3 versus the new UK coach? That might be a pretty good one, as we will turn tables just a little bit. Did Rick get his second round Rick image to Tennessee is in the Sweet 16. How sweet it is. Here we go. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Come on, guys, it's game time.
4 downs. Can you count? 4 downs. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. Banksandjones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, Caleb, we're going to look at Tennessee's next opponent, which is the University of Kentucky. I'm curious.
It's an obscure program. Tennessee doesn't play them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, do they play basketball? Do they have horse racing? I don't know. So let me ask you this, Caleb. The matchup against Kentucky, before we dive into the X's and O's of it and what it means, the fact that Kentucky's 2-0, where does this rank in your mind in terms of greatest rivalries of all sports?
Oh, I can't put it that high. It's a one-sided rivalry. I mean, let's be honest. Tennessee-Kentucky rivalry in basketball is just the reverse of the Tennessee-Kentucky rivalry in football. Now, Tennessee has gotten...
Wait, from Tennessee's perspective, is it... I think it's very analogous to the Alabama rivalry in football.
Yes, for Tennessee fans. They hate Kentucky the way they hate Alabama. Kentucky doesn't care that much about Tennessee in basketball. They hate them in football.
Okay, that's probably true. But in football, I would say I've talked to a lot of Alabama fans that have told me over the years that they indeed do hate the University of Tennessee, actually more than Auburn.
Well, Tennessee-Alabama is a legit two-sided rivalry in football. But Tennessee-Kentucky in basketball, I guarantee you talk to Kentucky, they traditionally would circle UNC or Duke on their schedule before they circle Tennessee.
No, I wouldn't argue with that at all. It is time for 4 downs, and we get to that now. Coop, what should we do? What down do we have coming up?
Coop here. First down.
All right. First down is this. Let's look back at the game over the weekend. Felix Okpara, your thoughts?
Felix Okpara and the way he played?
Yes.
I thought Felix Okpara played very well over the weekend. And it, turned up the athleticism like we talked about, use it to their advantage against UCLA when they weren't winning that well in the post. So with that in mind, I thought that was, I thought he performed admirably. Even though he only had 4 points, he had 7 rebounds and a block. So I got to give him credit for that.
Yes, that led us to Wofford just shot the ball well from 3 going back to the weekend, but that wasn't the case against UCLA. Did you think that Tennessee was able to play a little bit better perimeter defense? Your thoughts?
Yes. I thought they turned up the athleticism and played just better perimeter defense. And we're going to get to their athleticism in a little while because we didn't see that coming. But yeah, they clearly just were conserving energy when they played Wofford.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How concerning is it that Tennessee was swept by Kentucky in their regular season?
And this is where we get to, would you have rather played Kentucky or Illinois? Because Tennessee beat Illinois and they lost twice to Kentucky. And I know Dave's head is going to explode, but I believe in the law of averages. And I think that it's just unlikely for Kentucky to beat Tennessee 3 times in the same season just because they shot red hot and Tennessee had an awful shooting performance, which would have to happen.
I'm totally with you. If Caleb beats my ass 2 times, okay, I'm not going to want to go back and fight Caleb. I'm just telling you. I mean, that's common sense.
Well, that's where we're opposite though. See, I don't think Tennessee should be concerned about Kentucky.
See, that's the thing that's weird. If Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson fought 3 times, who would win? I mean, I like Tennessee. I still think they're the better team after losing 2 in a row, but don't start with that. It's hard to beat a team 3 times or 2 times or whatever the case may be. If you beat somebody's ass, you feel pretty good about beating their ass again.
Yes, but Vegas has Tennessee favored for a reason in this game.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying that Tennessee's not the better team, but just don't bring up that narrative. Is that fair?
Okay, fair enough. But can I bring up why Kentucky swept them?
You. I mean, like, rhetorically.
Well, I guess where I'm getting at
media members too.
Where I'm getting at is the reason Kentucky swept Tennessee, to be fair, is because there was a giant shooting disparity where they just happened to shoot red hot both times and Tennessee happened to shoot poorly. I don't see that. It seems very unlikely that would happen 3 times in the same season. I guess that's where I'm getting at, is that it seems very hard for Tennessee to shoot, for that shooting disparity from 3 to happen 3 times in the regular season. And that's why I think it's I think it's a better matchup for Tennessee than they think. Even though they did beat Illinois earlier the year at Illinois off the last second shot, I wouldn't write off the fact that Kentucky actually is a better matchup for them this time around.
Okay, before we get to second down, Adam says Tennessee has played Kentucky 3 times in a season under Barnes. Neither team has won all 3 games.
Yeah,
again,
that is true.
That's one of those stats that I think is silly. Again, I mean, if you beat my ass 2 times, I'm not going to want to come back. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, stark true and doctrine. I'm just saying that it's a weird argument for me to make.
I mean, okay, it's not like, here's the way I look at it. You
want to make the argument, don't you?
Well, okay, here's where I'm making the argument. Technically, you're right. Because here's the thing. If I flip a coin 50 times and it lands on heads all 50 times.
It's not even that. It's if the coin beats my arse.
No, but it's like, if I flip the coin 50 times and it lands on heads 50 times, that doesn't mean that there's a greater than 50% chance it's going to land on tails the next time.
Absolutely.
Like, it's... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a. But the law of averages has to play out like at some point in an overall scenario, and I'm like,
it doesn't. Okay,
it does.
No, it doesn't. You're the person, and I love you. You're at the roulette wheel, and you see 7 straight blacks, and you say this has to be red. No, it doesn't. It's still the same odds as the last one.
Hey, maybe this is why my gambling sucks.
I mean, I walk up to the roulette table. I bet every time I walk in a casino, $100 on 8 for Troy Aikman. And that's it. Because the roulette table is a great way to lose some money.
Well,
Mays here. Second down.
Second down is this, Caleb. Do you want to throw us into second down? Kentucky's defensive versatility is good.
Yes, and this is where we go from like coin flips to actual X's and O's of the game. And this is where it's more like this is where it's more like football, because it's funny you brought up Troy Aikman. I mean, no one ever says the law of averages in football, because football, there's no law of averages. It's just one team's better than the other 90% of the time when they play. And yeah. So in this one, I would say that Kentucky's defensive versatility, I thought before Saturday would be a concern for Tennessee, but Mick Cronin also has defensive versatility. He runs that matchup zone to give Tennessee trouble, and it didn't affect Tennessee at all. They adjusted to it well. Kentucky is going to have Tennessee with Kentucky, though. This is what Mark Pope does. He adjusts his defense on the fly, switches things up, and he does run a lot of matchup zones. So can Tennessee, without a true big that scores, particularly with Igor Milicic Jr., even still not playing great, didn't do it last weekend. Can they break that? Can they break through that? His teams, Kentucky adjusts very well on ball screen defense. They don't really switch. They're kind of like Tennessee in that regard. Funny enough, they just adjust well, and they run a variety of ball screen defenses, and they will switch to zone just at the worst time when you're not preparing for it. And this is what got Tennessee both times during the season. This is the biggest concern for Tennessee. Mark Pope does have great defensive versatility, and he can throw it at you when you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, well said. What down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, third down brought to you in part by Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. It's right down below, qualitytirepros.com, qualitytirepros.com. All right, Caleb, what is third down, sir?
Third down. Does the history of this series work against Tennessee? We know historically
I don't believe this at all. I'll just go ahead and tell you. I'm just going to go. I don't believe in it goes back to what we said earlier, right? If you beat my butt 2 straight times, there's a reason in heavyweight boxing, which Kentucky did. They beat Tennessee 2 straight times. In heavyweight boxing, you don't do a third. Why? Because you've proven your point. In this case, you have to do a third, but I don't think the history, whether it's Kentucky, is incredible, and they are. Their heritage, their history is impressive. It is. Just don't think this plays into it. Do you?
I think it does. And I'll just tell you some stories. Like, let's talk about it. You don't think, for instance, the Florida series in football plays into when Tennessee and Florida play, where it gets into the players' heads that Florida just has this dominance over Tennessee?
Okay, I'm glad you went there. I'll go short term, yes. I think you can get in somebody's head. I don't think that Joe B. Hall winning a game in the 1970s, I don't think that crosses Rick Barnes's mind at all this week.
I don't think it does with Barnes, but I do think it does with the players. And so I think it could creep into the...
See, I think it's even less with the players.
Maybe you're right, but I think it creeps into the players' heads because the talk on campus is there, like, oh, it's Kentucky. We know this with Kentucky and Tennessee in football.
Okay.
How many times, Dave, has...
I totally love you. And I think you're 100% right 5 years ago. Nobody's going to class anymore. You do know that, right?
Okay. So you're saying the campus culture is not infecting the players because they're not around the campus.
It's the same. You're as insulated as you and me. I mean, you and me, we don't have to really talk to anybody if we don't want to. We talk to sources to provide our listeners better info, but we really don't have to associate with anyone. I don't think that most players associate with anyone other than the coaches and the players.
You don't think you don't think they get connected to the radio shows,
no,
call-ins, the podcast, or the blogs, or the online talk? You don't think any of that affects them at all? You don't think they read any of it?
I think they,
in this era of social media.
Okay, no. I think they listen to what they like, because you have to remember, every one of these college football athletes were once prospects, and I think they realized they could control the narrative with their own social media. So I think they're ignorant, but I don't think they care. Does that make sense? I don't think they know what you, me, and a mainstream media are saying about them. I think they just know what people are saying about them in social media.
Okay, but the campus culture and communities infect social media, and they are on social media. And Elon's Twitter likes to generate fights. So, I mean, let's be honest, those kids are seeing some stuff. And you're saying it's not infecting them.
That's true. And what did No Bueno have to say here? Let me pull that up. You can read that.
Has you blocked.
He does. So I guess he is listening. Good point.
All SEC Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Okay, I'm all over the place. What down are we on, Caleb?
It is fourth down.
Center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Thank you, Coop. We appreciate that. All right, fourth down. Is this an opportunity for the Vols to get revenge? Golly, man. If
Dave doesn't believe in that. This doesn't matter. I'm Dave. This is not a factor at all.
That's what I sound like. If it had been Auburn or Florida or basically any other school, I'd say heck no.
But the fact that it's Kentucky and it's basketball and these kids care and they know that that's a blue blood program and they're not. Yeah, I think it is. If you'd picked any other program, I mean, UConn could have beat Tennessee 38 times last year, and I wouldn't go with you. But it's Kentucky.
Yeah, and the fact that Kentucky swept them in the regular season when they know they're the better team. This is a chance to go to the Elite Eight. And it's not just to go to the Elite Eight, Dave. It's a chance to get 30 wins for only the third time in school history.
I know, man. I don't want to do this whole emotional thing about the university.
Sounds like you do.
I do. I mean, it's Kentucky, for the love of God.
Look, I think that, I think I'll say it this way. I think Tennessee wanted to play Kentucky to get to the Elite Eight. I think they wanted to play Kentucky.
When the draw came out?
No, I mean watching the games yesterday, Illinois, Kentucky, I think they rooted for Kentucky, even though Illinois may be an easier out. I think they rooted for Kentucky. I think they wanted to get Kentucky. It kind of reminds me of, we talk about the 80s NBA all the time. I watched a thing with the Pistons one year when the Pistons beat your Celtics to finally go to the finals, Dave.
Shut up.
I think was it Isaiah Thomas or one of them was like, they said, oh, we were rooting for the Celtics in the series before. We wanted to we didn't want to go to the finals. We wanted to beat Boston. They were like, we wanted Boston specifically. And
I was so happy with Caleb and what he's done at this point. I know, brand new week. It's kind of cloudy, and he was giving me sunshine, love on my day here, but I just messed all that up.
Stat of the day. They never lie. Or do they? Stat of the day. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Off the Hook Sports.
All right, Caleb, what do you got this day in Tennessee? I'm sorry. The stat of the day. What do you got? By the way, Dan said Lanier stroking him now. As long as he keeps it up, we beat Kentucky by 15. It's not the stat of the day, but I would be interested to know Chaz Lanier's field goal percentage from the past two games. I'm guessing it's high to quite high, like Cheech and Chong high. What do you got for like stat?
Loving that.
Thank you. I could have gone Snoop Dogg, but I'm old.
Well, Chaz Lanier is in the stat of the day, funny enough.
Oh, good.
Because Chaz Lanier is officially the single season record holder for 3-pointers made in a game, 3-pointers made in a season at Tennessee. He now has 120. That's 2 more than what Chris Lofton had in 2007, 2008. He broke it on Saturday by going 4 of 5 from 3 against UCLA. That's right, 4 of 5 with 20 points. So Chaz Lanier is officially had the greatest 3-point shooting season in Tennessee basketball history.
Are we anywhere close? And I don't think so because they're defensive minded first. But are we close to saying that this Chaz and Zach may be better than Ernie and Bernie?
Chaz and Zakai better than Ernie and Bernie?
Yes. I call him Zach because we're close.
Oh, okay. I can't go there.
But you're thinking about it.
Here's where I'm going. This may be the best 1-2 backcourt in Tennessee basketball history. Like point guard, shooting guard combo. I don't know if there's a better 1-2 than these two. So
okay, but as a 1-2, would you go Akpar and Ziegler? Would that
no. When I say 1-2, I mean point guard, shooting guard combo.
Okay, but
I think Lanier and Ziegler together may be the best point guard, shooting guard combo in Tennessee basketball history. I got to think about it, but I think they might. CJ Watson, Chris Lofton was close in 05-06, but that's a topic for tomorrow. I'm gonna have to think about this.
Oh, look at him. He's diving deep. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. As we broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, we certainly appreciate them as they're East Tennessee's largest volume dealer. No question about that. 2 minutes then coming up on the program, we will talk about were the Vols just good at the right time, or are they really good? I think it's time to have the discussion that they're really good. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. Stay tuned. 2 minutes off the Sports. Why Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
And here we go. This was a huge waste of time, like bringing a married guy to Vegas.
Then there's this guy, the Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones, BanksandJones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
That rejoin mentioned Vegas and made me think of something, Caleb.
I always reject and disagree with that rejoin anyway. Why is America going to Vegas a waste of time?
Exactly. I mean, to me, that's
maybe
actually, that's the reason to go to Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Single. If you're single, you got stuff going on. But I had a buddy over the weekend that asked me to pick him up at the airport in Chattanooga. I'm in Knoxville. Should I have made that trip? I mean, you're a pretty good friend. You're probably equal level of this friend. Would you have asked me to do that? First of all. Second of all, would you have done that as a person?
I might have done it as a person because I actually don't mind like a solo drive on my own for a couple hours. It can be relaxing.
I was all out.
I'll say this. My question would be, why would you fly into Chattanooga and not Knoxville? The Knoxville airport's bigger and cheaper.
Well, no, it is, but it was just a situation in which he likes to gamble a lot, and this fit his schedule. So, I mean, and
do you remember the Seinfeld episode where George's car broke down when he's supposed to pick up Jerry from the airport, and then they commandeer like a limo to go to Madison Square Garden? It turns out it's a Nazi they're in the limo with.
Yes, I do remember that. The better episode, actually, though, is pertaining to this is when they have a situation in which the guy, Putty, just looks forward and doesn't read or doesn't watch anything on his plane flight. He just looks forward.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
That would top me and crazy. If somebody did that next to me, you're not engaging with something. All righty. That's another situation. Putty was not smart. Here we go.
He was not.
No.
He was not.
All right. Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Member FDIC. Life made better. Tennessee's red hot shooting night came at just at the right time, and this will lead the Vols into greater tournament success. bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. I will go ahead and say bank on that. And that I think they'll beat Kentucky. Beyond that, I don't know. But their red hot shooting, if it carries over the long week, will definitely help them and could advance them to the Elite Eight.
I totally agree. For a couple of reasons. One, let's just start with Chazanier. I mean, this dude is back to being red hot, like the way he was before SEC play started. Now, of course, he's got to get past an SEC game this week, but still, he is red hot right now. Pulling up his numbers recently, Dave. He is, I mean, he going back to, I would say, Tennessee's win over Texas A&M when he had 30 points, which is, he's been on a tear. He went 8 of 13 from 3 in that game. Then he went 3 of 8, 2 of 8, 3 of 8, 3 of 8, 2 of 5, 2 of 6, 1 of 5 off game against Florida. But then NCAA tournament, 6 of 13 against Wofford, 4 of 5 against UCLA. He is 10 of 18 from 3 in 2 NCAA tournament games. That's red hot. He is, and by the way, what he's doing is he's making teams pay in different ways. Wofford decided to play that press man with a bunch of slow white guys. So of course Chazanier was going to come off a screen and have a good look every single time.
I don't know what you're supposed to do with a bunch of slow white guys.
Exactly.
Maybe they played off the screen. Maybe they didn't, Caleb, but they were just going to struggle no matter what happened.
You got to play zone. Sorry. I mean, I know you're a principal. You're like, we play tough man-to-man. You're not going to beat that Tennessee team playing man-to-man. Okay, so there was that. But then the UCLA game, we were worried about Chazanier if you can't play spacing. And Mick Cronin doesn't let you play spacing. And so what did Rick Barnes do? We talked about it, turned up the tempo, brought the press. Chazanier kept getting good looks, and he kept getting red hot. And he went 4 of 5 from 3, had 20 points. And he also found other ways to score in a crowded paint, because he went 4 or 5 from 3, but he also hit 2 field goals inside the paint, and also went to the free throw line 4 times. So Chazanier speaks for himself. But the other part is, I mean, Jordan Gainey is effectively another Chazanier.
I'm telling you, I love Jordan Gainey. I told you that last week. Timothy says you're racist. I just worked that into casual conversation. No, I love Gainey, man. Okay, I'm going to say something that you might find crazy.
Okay.
I think Gainey has the most upside as a professional player of anybody on this team.
Ooh, really?
I do, man. I may be insane, but I look at him and not quite the Vincent Yarbrough body, but I don't know, I don't know, the hand-eye coordination and everything. I don't want to go too strong, but I told you last week that I love Gainey. And I
think as the son of an assistant in Justin Gainey, who's on Tennessee, I think Gainey shows out better than his real raw talent is, because he's so well coached and he is smart. He's a very smart player, and he has a lot of understanding of the game. And so I think that's what helps Gainey. He's probably, because son of a coach, he's probably the smartest player on this team by a long shot too. And by the way, here's the other thing when we talk about.
Okay, agreed. For those that don't know, his dad coaches where?
At Tennessee. Justin Gainey is his coach, is the assistant at Tennessee.
Okay, so I thought you'd tell us more about him. No?
I mean, he's a Barnes assistant. That's as far. He's been there for a while, and Jordan Gainey transferred to play for him. Justin Gainey he spent time at Marquette, Arizona. Funny enough, Appalachian State, played at NC State in the 90s. He was at Appalachian State right after. It was for the guy who replaced Buzz Peterson the second time Buzz Peterson was at Appalachian State.
Buzz 2.0.
Unfortunately, Justin Gainey did not have the pleasure of coaching under a smart genius man like Buzz Peterson.
That's difficult.
Buzz ball really prepares you for.
Yeah. A couple of comments. Colton with I have more trust in Gainey. Unsung says Gainey isn't afraid to take it to the rim. That's what Rick Barnes has been begging for Chazanier to do all freaking season. Is it not?
It is. It is. Here's the crazy part, though. We're leaving this out. Again, Dave, your head's going to explode. I'm going to go law of averages again. but I'm going to say it. In the last 3 games, Igor Milicic Jr. has 4 points, 5 points, 4 points, and is 2 of 7 from 3. At some point, isn't he due to just have a really red hot game from 3? And shouldn't it be against Kentucky?
Are we in March? Are you due anymore?
Well, but like he's been in a bit of a slump. He has shown it in the past. I mean, he had 13 points against South Carolina, 12 against Texas, and he went 2 of 4 from 3 against Ole Miss. I mean, he can definitely play. And in the last time Tennessee played Kentucky, although they lost, Igor Milicic went 3 of 4 from 3 with 16 points. I mean, isn't he due for a game?
I have a question to the message board. Here we go. Dylan says that Gainey is just a lot more effective at cutting the basket and finding the open man because he's taller than Ziegler. Yes, that's true. Gainey's intelligence outshines his natural ability. Should he be a starter? Should he play 30 minutes?
No, I don't think he should. I don't think anybody should play 30 minutes, honestly, from the backcourt. They got enough depth. But no, he shouldn't be a starter because you need the Chaz. Who are you going to put him in over? Chaz Lanier, Jemai Meshack, and Zakai Ziegler are all too complimentary of each other.
I'd go smalls. I would shift Chaz to 3. I would say that
put Meshack at the 4.
No, I'd put Gainey at the 2, Sakai at the 1, and here we go.
And Felix at the 5. And so you're saying, peace, Igor, get out.
Basically.
Now who's racist? Dave is kicking the white guys out of the starting lineup, okay?
European players.
Huh?
I mean, I totally hate European players. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. No, I don't. But I'm over it. I'm ready to move forward.
I mean, the thing is, Igor, like soft European white guys, like that can't play big under the basket when they're tall. The number one thing they should be able to do is be like a lethal force from 3, and Igor has not been a lethal force from 3. But isn't he due for one? I mean, look, this is why I think Tennessee's in great shape. Chaz Lanier is peaking. Justin Gainey's been peaking. Man, if Igor can do it too, and this is the part when I talk about March Madness, because we're like, did Tennessee get to the Sweet 16 because they peaked at the right time or because they're really good? Why not both? I mean, Dave, isn't half of advancing in March Madness just being hot when you need to be hot?
Yes. Adam with a great point. Dubar has played for some. He's a big wing.
I called for that.
Okay. In other words, let me just tell you this. It's all interchangeable. I mean, it's Phil Jackson said it 20 years ago, and I remember logging that in. Actually, good Lord, what was that, 30 years ago? He said everybody's going to be like Scottie Pippen, and they're all going to be interchangeable, and they're all going to be long and athletic. He didn't pick Jordan. He picked Pippen. Why? Because he's 6'8" with a longer wingspan than Jordan had. He didn't mean that they're all going to be led like Scottie Pippen could lead, because he couldn't. But what he was saying is they're all physically going to be that type of athlete. So I look at a basketball team nowadays, and I think UNLV, going back to the Grandmama and Stacey Augmon days, Caleb, I don't want to go too far back, but I go back to that. That was positionless basketball. If I see a guy that can only play point guard, or it's going to sound like I'm ripping Zakai and everybody's going to just totally jump on me. If I see a guy that can only play one position, like a point guard like that, like Zakai, or a 7'2" guy like Zach Edey, I'm not saying that I can't work off it, which obviously Purdue did and Tennessee has done. But I'm telling you, there's a glass ceiling of what I can get done if I don't have 5 positionless players.
Okay, I'm going to say it to you this way. I get your point.
Push back hard.
No. I just don't think there's a problem if you have a guy that's locked in at a position. I really don't. I still don't mind. I mean, I think positionless basketball, I think honestly I think because everybody's doing it, there's a market for doing traditional old school style basketball that nobody would be equipped to handle. I mean,
okay. But aside from Zach Edey, you could dump it into him and he's like Kevin McHale back in the day. Who else? Who else in the past 20 years of basketball would you point to and say
Tyler Hansbrough?
Who?
Tyler Hansbrough from North Carolina that won a national title. They could dump it into Tyler Hansbrough.
I'll give you him. That's a very good one. But
So
we're dealing with 2 over the past 20 years.
no, I agree. And like getting hot shooting is what matters the most, which is why I was bringing up this topic of Tennessee shooting. Dave, let's make the bank on it question this, and you tell me if I'm crazy. Can I dictate the bank on it question for this segment?
As long as you tease it forward and don't give it away.
All right, bank on it. Will Tennessee's continued shooting be an advantage in the next 2 rounds?
You have to make a statement. That's bank on it.
Okay, fine. Bank on it. Tennessee, despite Kentucky being a better three-point shooting team, Tennessee's three-point shooting will be the advantage this upcoming weekend in the tournament.
My man.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life.
All right, Caleb, you had the bank on it statement. Tell me why you would bank on it.
So Kentucky is a better three-point shooting team than Tennessee based on numbers. Kentucky is 28th in the nation in three-point percentage. They're 40th in three-pointers made per game. Tennessee, meanwhile, is 102nd in three-pointers made per game and 158th in three-point percentage. However, I think 2 things are going to be happening. One, I think Tennessee is going to be well-rested. What do I think that's going to lead to? Now, because the game's not until Friday. That's huge because Tennessee really needs a rest. I think the defense will be where it needs to be to come off those screens and contest those Kentucky shots. I think that's going to happen. I think Kentucky is due to be a little bit off shooting the ball. And then most importantly, I think Tennessee is peaking with their three-point shooting at just the right time. So even though Kentucky is the better three-point shooting team, I think Tennessee will make it an advantage for themselves when the two face off this weekend. And I know that's crazy to say, but I think that that's going to be what can carry Tennessee, not just out of that, but that could carry Tennessee to the Final Four if they find themselves facing Houston or Purdue in the Elite Eight, honestly.
Lord, we really have to discuss the significance of this matchup, right? I mean, we talk Tennessee, Alabama in football, but Tennessee, Kentucky in basketball is huge. Tennessee, last I checked, is second to Kentucky in most overall SEC wins. And there is a matchup there that it has some history, whether or not it's Chris Lofton or whoever it might be. It has some history, Caleb, and it's a rivalry from Tennessee's perspective. I don't think there's any question about that. Portions of the program brought to you by Newbert Collision Center. For nearly 50 years, Newbert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. Check us out right down below, joenewbertcollision.com, joenewbertcollision.com. How big of a rivalry is this for Tennessee, Caleb?
Oh, it's very personal for Tennessee. And I think it's really personal because of the fact that they got swept by Kentucky during the regular season. And they don't want to – 2 things are true. We've talked forever. This is their best chance at a Final Four run. Nothing could make you sicker than missing out on your best chance ever to make a run at the Final Four because you lost to the team you hate the most that beat you 3 straight times in a year. And you actually have the better team than that team. That would just be a brutal situation.
Agreed. There was a time in which you would look at Kentucky's basketball program and say, hey, that's a better program. I don't think you feel like that now. So if you don't beat them on the court, what do you got?
Yeah, exactly. You got to beat them on the court this time around. So I think that, look, I don't, there's no way you can allow yourself to lose to this Kentucky team 3 times under a first-year head coach with the team that you're better than and your best chance at a Final Four. You just can't do it. Again, 3-point shooting makes it will be the determining factor. And I think that Tennessee, that's my big prediction. I think they're peaking at the right time. It's a break that Rick Barnes has been waiting for, and he's needed, and he finally has it.
All right, here he goes. So where do you have Tennessee going if I allowed you to reset your bracket?
I had them in the Final Four from the start, and I still had them in the Final Four, and I'm not backing off that. And I'll tell you this, Kentucky is harder than Purdue or Houston for Tennessee. This is Tennessee's hardest matchup. If they win Friday, they're going to the Final Four.
That would explain why they're 0-2 against Kentucky. Everybody's getting excited. Okay, and that's cool. But it's still a team that beat you twice. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Coming up on the show, we'll have, what do we got? This day in Tennessee sports history, Caleb?
Yeah, we got this day in Tennessee sports history, and we got Tennessee athleticism, and we got some SEC dominance to talk about, because SEC haters, really bad day for them.
Yep, agreed. We'll talk Lady Vols as well. Steve Hamer, former Vol, will join us. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We appreciate you. 2 minutes from Off the Hook Sports, and I cannot begin to tell you how incredible that our friends are at Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, the largest East Tennessee volume dealer, and I couldn't be happier with my Jeep. Why? Because of what Ted Russell Ford Lincoln can provide, and it's not like anywhere else. So I promise, whether or not it's new or used, you need to go there. The buying process is unbelievable. You'll be so incredibly happy with what happened with you. And as you drive off the lot, you'll be like, sweet, great deal on this. I love Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire.
You stand, hot or cold. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters. 50 years in East Tennessee. CityHeatandAir.com. On Off the Hook Sports.
Wait, so David, I think, has us before we get to 4 downs. Sorry, article brought to you by CD Heating and Air Conditioning, CityHeatandAir.com. David says the game is on Friday around 7:45. Okay, so this is one of those talking points that gets lost in the pregame, but I want to give kudos to the Vols for overcoming
That game was 10 o'clock Eastern for the Vols. It was 7 o'clock Pacific for UCLA. I thought that was something that just needs to be eradicated because no matter who you root for, that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, totally favored UCLA. I mean, there's a West region for a reason. What are you doing putting UCLA in a Midwest region and then having that game be on UCLA time? I mean, it's like they're trying to, like, what they did makes no sense. I'm sorry.
Well, is that the pod thing where you're trying to? Okay, so you're trying to keep like Tennessee fans closer to home, so it should benefit Tennessee.
Yes.
Doesn't feel like that.
No, it did not feel like that at all. I totally.
I mean, that's the goal, is to benefit the home team, but that's really not it. All right, hot or cold, brought to you by City Heat and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. All right, hot or cold, Florida.
That's hot.
They're hot.
Well, let's get this out real quick before we go down the list. The SEC has shut critics up. SEC basketball has shut critics up because everybody said that Danny Cannell is somewhere crying in his underwear right now. Like, you know, he's huddled up.
That's hot.
You think Danny Cannell in his underwear is hot?
No, I think your take is hot.
Okay. Well, yes, Danny Cannell is somewhere. Danny Cannell is somewhere curled up in a ball in his underwear, crying and screaming about
For those that don't know, Danny Cannell loves to take pot shots at the SEC, usually in football, which usually means he's stupid.
That's hot.
Yes, and here's the funny part: but they'll take him and he'll take him in a way where nobody was asking for that. Nobody cares what you think about it, Danny. But
what do we got with basketball?
So with basketball, the SEC. You heard everybody go, oh, they got 14 teams in. It was all rigged. Greg Sankey rigged it, and the networks rigged it, and the SEC was just getting too much love, and they're going to be exposed in the tournament. Well, yeah, they had a couple of upsets. Okay, like for instance, Missouri lost in the first round to Drake. So only win a Drake has gotten all year this year, but Missouri lost in the first round to Drake as a higher seed. Texas A&M as a 4 seed lost to the 5 seed in Michigan in the second round.
I picked both of those.
There you go. So you knew. But the SEC has actually overperformed its seeding in the NCAA tournament. Many people don't know. The SEC had 6 top 4 seeds in the tournament, but they have 7 teams in the Sweet 16. Which is proof that the SEC was actually not only as good as advertised, may have been better than advertised.
Okay, that's not true. Let's start with Florida. Florida won. Great. Yeah, fantastic job. They should have the draw they had. Auburn, to me.
And yeah, just to point out, because I wanted to do hot or cold for each team, I am hot on Florida. I am hot on how Florida got there. Even though they did struggle to put away UConn's back-to-back national champs. They're a dangerous team.
Right. I've told you that I think Florida runs roughshod over this tournament and will be the national champion. All right, Auburn, hot or cold?
I'm hot on Auburn. I thought now Auburn got a break because Louisville lost in the first round, even though they were playing in Kentucky. But Auburn really handled Creighton. You know, they screwed around with Alabama State for half, still won by 20, and then they played around with Creighton and still ended up winning by 12. Auburn is literally phoning in the tournament, and they're still in the Sweet 16 right now.
Okay, Tennessee.
Hot. I'm really hot after that UCLA game.
Okay, why I'm hot on the Vols. Brought to you by our good friends at Commercial Bank. I will tell you what. No, I'm sorry. Brought to you by our good friends at City Heat and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. They will totally take care of you. 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. Cityheatandair.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your pair.
All right, Caleb, let's get to some other names on your list. But I will tell you that I'm really, really hot about Tennessee. I think they're hitting at the right time. And that doesn't mean they'll make the Final Four, win the national title. But I think you're in a good spot, Tennessee fans.
Yep. I agree. I think Tennessee is in a great spot. The way they looked at
That's
UCLA,
hot.
I am hot. I am very hot on them. I'm as hot on them as Dave is hot on thinking about Danny Cannell in his underwear.
All right, Alabama.
I'm actually cold on them. They're in the Sweet 16, but they only beat Robert Morris by 9 in the first round, and St. Mary's was leading them early in the first half. That was a bad 7 seed. I don't think Alabama's that good, honestly. I think that's the one overrated team.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Kentucky.
That's hot.
I think they're hot.
The way they handled Illinois, I'm hot on. I think they're hot. That was I thought Illinois could give them a fight, and they won by 9, and it wasn't that close.
Yep. Ole Miss.
Hot. I mean, they just torched Iowa State, and they just handled them so easily. I think they actually could beat Michigan State in the Sweet 16, even as a 2 seed this weekend. So I'm hot on them too.
Ouch. Not that hot. Arkansas. John Calipari. And by the way, it's pronounced like a pear. Your thoughts? I mean, it is. I mean, the man, that's the way he enunciates his last name. So we should follow along with that. Your thoughts on Arkansas?
Arkansas, I'm hot on how they played, and they're the story for Tennessee. They beat 2-time national champion Bill Self and the number 1 team in the nation at the beginning of the year in Kansas, and then they upset St. John's, Big East champion, and Calipari's basically doppelganger Rick Pitino to get to the Sweet 16. But I'm not that hot on them. I think St. John's was a bit overrated, and Kansas was obviously not Kansas this year. So I think once they get to face Texas Tech, they will lose. But them getting to the Sweet 16 is one of the big things that validates the SEC.
Agreed. Because there's like a base of how good you are. When you look back at their run, I would start with Bill Self, Kansas. I would say that was a team that I've been told just didn't get along. They didn't like one another, and you can do anything you want from day to day. But if you don't like one another, it's not going to work. And it didn't work there.
Professionals can do it. College kids can't.
Good point. Yeah, I mean, Kobe and Shaq didn't like one another, but it's different when in college you don't like one another. So I would say this in addition to that, I think that St. John's was a little overrated. I wanted to see Rick Pitino have a cool run. I mean, I thought that would be neat. He may still, but man, I saw like a post game message to his team. I'm not sure that's the way you speak to modern day athletes in the college game, Caleb. I think you have to be a little bit nice. He is one mean son of a, you know what?
I agree. He is. And
he asked what I saw, which was a bootleg video, but it definitely was him, was basically how were you raised?
I mean, well, okay.
I mean, is that not a little mean from the get? How were you raised to not be a greater competitor?
Well,
how were you raised to be weak? That's what he said.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very it was very Bobby Knight-esque when Bobby Knight used to snap.
Oh, so did you see it too?
Yeah. No, it's now here's the funny thing. Someone said that Calipari's jacket. Did you see the jacket Calipari was wearing in the Sweet 16? Or in the
yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show this to everybody real quick. For those who didn't see it, it is hilarious to look at. Let me see if I can pull this up now. This is what this is the jacket Calipari was wearing as Arkansas beat St. John's. See this little plaid jacket?
I like that jacket. What's wrong with that jacket?
Someone said that jacket Calipari was wearing the tablecloth at the restaurant where the server hooked up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, to troll Rick Pitino.
Okay. So yeah.
Derek Owen actually has
allegedly, Rick Pitino allegedly had relations with a I don't know, waitress, right?
Yes, with a
In an
waitress.
Italian restaurant, and you know, like that's the thing. But
Can
I would just say this: who hasn't?
I want to address Derek's point because this is true. He's easily a mafia affiliate. Oh wait, not that one. No, sorry. Not that we don't like your comments time. We're going to talk about the Lady Vols, but Derek saying that he's easily a mafia affiliate. Derek, which one? Calipari or Ripino? Because I think they both are. Now, Dave, we've talked about Calipari's recruiting. How he uses Nike ties to be able to recruit. Does Calipari have mafia ties that helps him recruit? You actually believe that?
Yes. Do you not?
We're saying right now Calipari's in the mafia.
Yes. Wait, did you think I was going to answer in another sort of fashion?
So you think his mafia ties, he has mafia ties that allows him to recruit top-notch athletes?
Yes.
That's a story of another day. Does Pitino have mafia ties?
That's right. It's a whole other topic.
Does Rick Pitino have mob ties?
Yes. You didn't think I'd go that way?
No, I didn't. Wow. Dave was just straight like, yep, mob ties.
I'm a little surprised you haven't gone there yet, to be honest with you. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, as we broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or
Caleb, am I doing this day in Tennessee sports history or stat of the day?
This day in Tennessee sports history.
Jackpot.
This day in Tennessee sports history.
It's cool, baby. It's cool.
Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun, Off the Hook Sports.
Okay. I helped you out with your this day in Tennessee sports history. Sent you a message. Did you get that?
Oh, I got it. I have my own, but I will mention this.
Yeah, but you blew it off. All right. Whose birthday is it?
It is a happy 49th birthday to one Peyton Manning, who maybe you've heard of him. He's from this family that's really popular down at Ole Miss.
Yes. And for the record, the Sheriff is the lamest nickname ever.
Oh, Psycho Tom is the lamest nickname ever.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. People. Skip Bayless started it because he was a Tom Brady fan, and he said when Tom Brady gets into his intense mode, he becomes Psycho Tom.
Okay, the Sheriff makes no sense. I don't get why that happened.
Because he wears cowboy hats. Because Peyton Manning has no fashion. All right. So my this day in Tennessee history is 6 years ago today. Tennessee beat Iowa in the second round of the NCAA tournament, 83-77. It was an overtime win after they blew a 25-point lead. Tennessee was a second seed with Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield. Iowa was a 10 seed. They blew a 25-point lead, but they then go to overtime and get the win. It was Rick Barnes ending his second round Rick moniker then, because it ended a drought of 11 years of him not going to the Sweet 16. And for Tennessee, it was a 5-year drought.
So, in retrospect, do you view Rick Barnes any differently?
From then, like from 2019, yes. I actually think that Rick Barnes team in 2019, I kind of held some things against him. I thought he recruited and developed well, but I didn't think he focused on X's and O's and thought about adjusting for the NCAA tournament. That's not the case now. He's clearly doing that now, which, I mean, it's crazy that somebody at 65 that somebody adjusted at 70 from what they were doing at 65. But yeah.
I think that makes Rick Barnes more valuable. You?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It makes him much more valuable as a coach.
I mean, would you rather have a guy that figured things out in his 40s or pretty much has them figured out in the 70s?
No, I mean, it's I don't really care when they figure it out, but as long as they're willing to adjust. But if someone's willing in their 70s and willing to adjust and willing to accept that he hasn't learned everything about the sport, he approaches it with even more wisdom at that point, which I think really stands out.
Yep, good point. Coming up on the program, what the H and more, we'll have the conversation with Steve Hamer, who always is good for giving some insight. We'll talk about Tennessee's win against UCLA and also Tennessee's win against the Lady. What are they? Lady what?
The Lady Vols win over Ohio State. Yeah,
right. I know they're the Lady Vols, but the Lady Buckeyes, do they do that at other places?
No, Tennessee's still one of the few that sticks with that.
Okay, Tennessee's athleticism. We'll dive into that. Stay tuned with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. The show is right here in the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. Their locations on Parkside Drive and Kingston Pike can't be beat.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire.
Guys, welcome back to the program. During commercial break, Dave's Wi-Fi cut out. Gotta love technical difficulties. We're going to try to get him back in soon enough. I think here he is coming on now.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
What the H?
Wow, I never worked hard on anything. What a cool life.
For real? The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, he's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. We have this production meeting every day at 3:45 a.m. That's the time that Caleb picked. I didn't pick it. But when we were going to the production meeting this morning, he said, was Tennessee's athleticism underrated? It's interesting. I don't think so. As they advance to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, I feel like they are maximizing what they have athletically, but you think something else.
Yes, Tennessee's athleticism, I think, has been absolutely underrated, by myself included. So let's recap what happened last weekend. Will West came on our show, and Will West and I had both were concerned about Tennessee for separate reasons. I said Tennessee doesn't have the bigs to be able to compete with UCLA, and they don't have the guards to be able to turn up the tempo to try to change it, because when they've tried to put things in transition, i.e. Florida last week, it worked against them. Will added, and he was right to add this, also UCLA's guards are extremely quick.
Yes.
So we thought they were in some real trouble. We both did. So when Rick Barnes calls that 3-quarter press 5 minutes into the first, with 5 minutes left in the first half, we're thinking this isn't going to work. I'm honestly thinking, I don't see how this is going to work at all. And for those who don't remember, at the time,
I thought it would.
Really? You
Yes.
thought it would?
Yes. I did.
Okay. Well, Dave knows ball.
No, I mean, just a hunch. I thought it would work.
Okay, well, I didn't think it was going to work. And remember, UCLA, at that point, I really controlled the first 15 minutes of the game. They were up 23-21. Igor Milicic gets a turnover and then fouls. And then they trade missed buckets. But after the TV timeout, Barnes really turns it up. It's 23-21 UCLA. Tennessee closes on an 11-2 run to win to take the first half 32-35. The reason this stands out is because Tennessee was running a 3-quarter press with Zakai Ziegler, Chaz Lanier, and Jemai Mashak, and then they would put Jordan Gainey in to do it as well. I did not realize how athletic those guys truly were. We hadn't really seen it all year because Rick Barnes hadn't run it. I knew how athletic Zakai Ziegler was because Zakai Ziegler last year when Tennessee pushed the tempo, Ziegler was really good at it. Jemai Mashak I thought was athletic but hadn't really shown it to that point. And Chaz Lanier, I knew nothing about his athleticism. That was going to be the question if Lanier or Jordan Gainey could handle the 3-quarter press too. And both of them did their roles. Zakai, the pesky guy that he is, getting in everybody's face was epic. And Jemai Mashak absolutely torched players and made them regret ever running into him. And here's where the real stat comes, Dave. UCLA only had 11 turnovers on the night. But 7 of those 11 turnovers were steals by Tennessee. They were forcing steals in transitions. Zakai Ziegler had 3 steals. Jemai Mashak had 2 steals. And I look at that, and we know what Felix Opera can do under the basket, and he had a blocked shot, but they put Felix Opera out on the perimeter at certain times. Basically, they just said, we're going to use our athleticism, and we're not going to let you cross midcourt. And even if you do cross midcourt, you want to play big, you're not going to be able to dump it down inside because you're going to turn it over before you get to that point. And it worked. And then they forced UCLA to settle for these threes, in which they contested every single one. Sky Clark did go off, but he was the only one. And Tennessee proved that, wow, You turn up the tempo, they can hang. And this is something that I didn't see, and it proves to me that Rick Barnes always had this card in his pocket, was just waiting to play it. He just hasn't needed to yet. And I got to give him some major credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and him being 1 years old.
He turned 71 in the summer, yeah.
So, I mean, that erases all the old dog doesn't know new tricks and that sort of thing. I mean, that to me is done.
Yes. No, it's over with Rick Barnes. You're right. The guy consistently learns new tricks. He's basically doing what Nick Saban does. I mean, he doesn't have Nick Saban's accomplishments, but he's doing what Nick Saban does. And the way he turned up the athleticism was just incredible. And look, this is going to really favor Tennessee going forward. I wouldn't have said this just 3 days ago. Dave, I think Tennessee should turn up the tempo on Kentucky. I think they should wreak havoc. I think they should press. I think they should do a full court press, do a 3-quarter, 2-2-1, 1-2-2. Go with what Bruce Pearl used to run. And Rick Barnes knows how to run that, by the way, because when Rick Barnes was at Ohio State under Gary Williams, he learned about the press and running the flex offense. I would run that, honestly.
Okay, so if you looked at these two teams and they're not wearing blue, they're not wearing orange, just a matchup, how would you rate it? Because I still have Tennessee winning, but that sounds crazy because they've lost 2 to Kentucky.
I have them winning. I think that Rick Barnes has some aces in the hole that he was saving for the tournament. And that's what
defensively.
Yeah, and it showed against UCLA. Again, none of us knew Tennessee was that athletic. And Felix Opera was playing up towards the perimeter, towards half court, and was just absolutely torching them if they tried to cross half court. And that's what totally changed the game. And Tennessee was shooting well from 3. It wasn't like we talked about them getting red hot the last segment or 2 segments ago. But Dave, a big part of that is Tennessee was getting a lot of open looks because they kept turning up the tempo. And I mean, I did not think they'd be able to do that. The tempo that they were running was absolutely incredible. So I got to be honest. I think that Tennessee, if they have this level of athleticism going forward, they're in great shape. I mean, I can't stress enough how good a shape they're in with the ability to turn up the tempo like that. These are things Barnes never showed in the regular season. And kudos to him. Kudos for him for not pulling out all the stops in the regular season like many coaches do. He knew he had a tournament team. He knew he had a high seed. And he wasn't going to waste things on, trying to win a conference tournament or anything like that when he knew he had a tour. Or trying to get
there he goes.
No, I mean, wait, hold on. He could have gotten a number 1 seed. And he could have drawn this out.
Narrative.
I'm sorry. It's just how it is. It's just how it is.
Coming up, Steve Hamer will join us. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. 2 minutes. Steve Hamer, the former Vol, will help us break down not only the Vols, but the Lady Vols as well. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Sports.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire.
A guy with a lot of jobs, but this one is the most important.
This is not government work. As such, I treat it with care and attention.
Until someone else calls. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Okay, talking basketball, as you might expect, Steve Hamer joins us. Former Vol VFL is right there. Oh. Hey, Steve, how are you, sir?
Great. I hope that you guys are doing awesome on this Big Orange Monday.
Yes, we are fantastic. You know what it's like to go ahead and jump to the Sweet 16, so I was just going to get your thoughts on, maybe not. But anyway, your thoughts on
wow, Dave.
Whoa. Steve and I go way back.
Yeah, way back. Way back.
All right, so your thoughts on Tennessee making it to the Sweet 16. It's funny how this seems like it's routine, but it should never be considered that way.
Yeah, we're living in the golden era of Tennessee basketball, and I think fans have the propensity to take this for granted. Having gone to the Sweet 16 3 years in a row now, and having an unprecedented, level of success in terms of regular season victories and, a tournament championship with the SEC a few years back, playing for a championship this past Sunday before last, and just really, really playing top level basketball. And I think that, fans really need to relish this. Good, bad, or indifferent. We obviously haven't gotten to that elusive Final Four, and I think that this year can be the year. But man, let's celebrate and cherish the times that we've had, because man, I've lived through it. Dave, you've lived through some mean times, some tough times with Tennessee basketball, where just making it to the big dance would have been a feather in the cap of the athletic department. And now, we're finding ways to win. UCLA was by no means a slouch. They were very tough, very well coached, had size and length, and yet we found a way to get a 15, 17 point lead and kind of sauce that thing away in the late game. So man, Tennessee's playing a very, very good brand of basketball right now, and I certainly think that it's going to last even beyond this weekend.
I agree. Caleb?
So Steve, talking about that, I wanted to talk about just breaking down how Tennessee. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous for them after the Wofford game. I thought they didn't come off the screens to defend the three as well as they typically have. I was wrong about that. After UCLA, though, it looks like they may have just conserved some energy for Wofford. This team, what are your thoughts on? We just had this segment. They're much more athletic than I thought. I mean, them being able to turn up the press like that on UCLA. What did you think of them being able to do that?
Well, I think it starts with the coaching, right? That wrinkle we really hadn't seen. We've seen in little spurts, them going like a pseudo press, if you will, not really trying to turn you over, but just trying to slow you down. Excuse me. And for Coach Barnes to pull that out at a particularly tough juncture of the game where it was kind of back and forth. And next thing you know, we turn them over once. Then you turn them over the next possession. Chaz O'Neal gets a steal, goes up, gets an and one. And now it kind of puts the game away because we're up at 7 at halftime, and Tennessee really never looks back for the most part. So it's just those little wrinkles that makes Coach Barnes who he is. Because I guarantee you, UCLA hadn't scouted that. They didn't know that was coming, and it looked the part because the players looked unprepared. So look for Tennessee the rest of the season to throw something at Kentucky that maybe they're not prepared for. Maybe we utilize that press against them. Maybe we change it up. Maybe we go 2-2-1. Maybe we go 1-3-1. Maybe we, do some different things to kind of keep Kentucky off balance and out of kilter. But man, it's just that little wrinkle set the course of the game in an entirely different direction. Because Caleb, UCLA was just starting to get comfortable, right? Yeah. They were getting comfortable. It was, basket on my end. UCLA comes down and scores on the other end. And, they're big guys getting comfortable. Mari, 7 threes, kind of pushing some guys around. We're getting in foul trouble. Then all of a sudden, we turn them over several times in a row. We score. And again, we never look back. So just great coaching, man. Just, Coach Barnes is playing chess when these other guys are playing checkers.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, actually. So moving forward, do you think Rick Barnes has anything else in his back pocket, or was that pretty much spent the first weekend?
I don't think it was spent because, spending time with Coach Barnes, he's always not only coaching for the present moment, but he's always setting something else up for the future, right? You look at it in film study, and I've been with him in film study countless numbers of times in which they're throwing things not necessarily out that are going to be effective for this game, but it's the next matchup because you're giving someone like Kentucky pause for thought. Like, wait, again, we've never seen Tennessee do that before. Press. We've never seen them, as soon as someone goes across the midcourt line, run and jump them in a trap. We've never seen that. We've never seen them rotate over and turn someone over. So I think that, he's still got more in the tank. And quite honestly, guys, there are more offensive sets that I've seen from Tennessee in practice that they never really put in games. But it's going to be moments like this that you're going to see a wrinkle in some of these games coming up. The pick and roll or pick and pop or big guys slipping. And don't underestimate. Okay, I mean, you guys are astute, basketball savants, right? Have you noticed?
We do what we can.
You do what you can, right?
Yes.
But have you noticed that here in the last couple of games, people are so worried about Chaz O'Neal coming off of a screen that the big guys are starting to hedge a little too long. And we're starting to see Cade, Felix slip those screens. And Chaz has got the choice to rise up and shoot it, which we want him to do that, or dump it off to Cade Phillips. And more times than not, they're going to be wide open because the rotation isn't there. They're so worried about Chaz shooting and getting off to a hot start. So it's going to happen, especially here for Kentucky. The big guy that's going to slip and roll to the basket is going to be wide open, and we're going to get some easy looks at the rim.
So, Steve, speaking of Kentucky, obviously there's a lot of people worried about the matchup because Kentucky swept Tennessee during the regular season. I thought there were some other factors in play during those two games, but just on the simplest terms, did Kentucky sweep Tennessee because they just got lucky and had red-hot shooting days those two games, and Tennessee was a little bit off? Is that the only reason, or was there more to it than that?
No, I don't think it was luck. I do think, if you go back and you look at the first two matchups, Do you guys recall what Kentucky shot from the three?
It's like 50% both times, wasn't it?
12 of 24.
Yeah, both
times. 12 of 24. Now, Kobe Brea, really good shooter. Played well yesterday against Illinois, propelled them to a victory over tough-nosed, talented Illinois basketball team. Now, do I expect Kentucky to shoot 12 of 24 from the three-point line? No. Adjustments are going to be made. Tennessee's going to close out on him, much like teams are closing out on Chaz Lanier, and make someone else beat you. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think Kentucky's going to shoot that well. I think, again, Tennessee's going to have some wrinkles in place to ensure that doesn't happen. But by no means would I consider that luck, because Kentucky's really talented, man. They're long. They have the length. They've got the scoring. What is going to set this game apart is that Kentucky is not especially good on the defensive end, right? They don't play great defense. Juxtapose that with the fact that Tennessee has not played well offensively in both of the prior matchups. We've had wide open looks, and they didn't go down. Case in point, we shot 45 threes in the first matchup, with the great abundance of those being wide open, and we just weren't able to knock them down.
Steve, let me ask you about this. The Lady Vols, I really thought if they made the tournament, that's a win, but suddenly here they are advancing, and I think you have to give Kim Caldwell's crew a lot of credit for buying in.
I think you're exactly right. Coach Caldwell has done an amazing job of not only getting us to the big dance, far exceeding expectations, because, again, if you were to go back preseason and think, man, it would be great for us just to make the big dance, by and large, most people would go, yeah, that's a win, right? But for us to not only advance to the round of 32 and now to the Sweet 16, you beat Ohio State on their home floor.
Yeah.
And Dave and Caleb, I hate to say this, but we were kind of getting ripped a little bit in the third quarter. The officiating was pretty one-sided. I mean, it was blatantly obvious, man. Hand checks on our end, girls getting bumped on the other end, no calls. I would have lost my mind being there. But, man, we are playing an exciting brand of basketball. Talasia Cooper, Z Spearman, Jewel Spear. I mean, the confidence is growing, and I'm going to tell you, I know that it looks like we're going to play the top seed in Texas. That's going to be a tough matchup. But if you go back to earlier this year, where we played Texas on their home floor to within a couple of possessions, we didn't make some shots down the stretch. Man, we're going to be okay. Going to be all right.
Yeah. So, Steve, speaking of that, I thought the Lady Vols were getting tired, honestly, towards the end of the year. And things they did a 180 kind of a little bit when they blew out Texas A&M in the tournament, and then starting the NCAA tournament. One of two things I noticed happened. One, they got 2 weeks off because the SEC tournament's before the NCAA tournament, so they could get rest. But I also noticed this lineup change they've done where they moved Talasia Cooper to the bench. Which of those two things would you say has had a bigger impact on them looking like their old selves in the NCAA tournament?
I'm going to go with, can I give you option C?
Sure.
Option C is 13 days off.
Yeah.
That is what has propelled Tennessee to get on this run. Having 13 days off is huge, right? And if you read any of or looked at Coach Caldwell's post-game remarks, it was a gamble to give them a couple of days off right after the SEC tournament to kind of let them, relax a little bit, get away from the game just a little bit. And they ramped it up almost like a preseason camp to be prepared for the start of the tournament. It worked out perfectly. And it's brilliant in Coach Caldwell's case because, sometimes, man, when you go through a tough league, night in and night out, it's a grind. People get tired. You hit a wall. And then you got to do it all over again at an elite level when the NCAA tournament starts, man, it's tough. So when you get that time off, you can self-scout, you can self-evaluate, and you can let your ladies just kind of rest a little bit and then ramp it up again. And hopefully you're in peak performance, which they have been for the first couple of games of the NCAA tournament, man. Coach Caldwell's done an amazing and an outstanding job.
No question about it. So, Steve, at this point, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. So, the Lady Vols or the men, who do you see going further in their individual respective tournaments?
That's a tough one, man. That is, Dave, that you put me on the spot, really put me on the spot. I would think that the men would probably go a little farther just because of the draw. Again, when you have to play Texas, as the Lady Vols will have to, Texas has got size in the middle, probably unlike any size that, Tennessee is going to see the rest of the year, man. I mean, they're talented. They shoot the ball well. They defend well. And with Tennessee men, with the men having, to play Kentucky again, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season, especially when Tennessee in the prior 2 did not play well offensively. I just like our chances a little bit better on the men's side. That being said, man, I could easily see the Lady Vols making a run. I could easily see the men making a run.
I could too. Just ask you a question that, people asked me this morning. Coffee, and I feel like I don't have a good answer. I really don't. Caleb, go on.
So, Steve, just asking on that though, like with the Lady Vols, we noticed the depth wearing them down towards late in the season, but it kind of I was like, is this concerning for Kim Caldwell going forward? Because she does run she goes 12 deep on a roster. So, it's surprising that the depth that they were getting worn down. Is this an issue that can be fixed once she gets her recruiting class in next year? Or is this always going to be a thing for this program that they just get tired in March?
No, I think that it's going to be what it is, Caleb. The reason why she does, tend to sub every minute and a half, 2 minutes is because she expects the ladies on the floor to play as if it was their last minute in uniform, right? It's full tilt. You're running, you're pressing, you're jumping, you're doing everything that you possibly can. And she wants you to empty the tank every 2 minutes. Well, when you empty the tank every 2 minutes, man, that's great. That means you sit for 2 minutes. And can you really get everything back in those 2 minutes?
Yes.
And then you empty the tank again. It becomes tough. And again, it's a grind. So when you have that accumulating factor of emptying the tank so many times over the course of a season, then all of a sudden it's tournament time and you got to ramp it up. And then it's NCAA tournament time and you got to take it to another level. It becomes hard. But I will say this, the more talented recruiting classes that she brings in, the easier it's going to be to empty the tank. And I'll explain what I'm saying. Talent overcomes a lot of different things, Caleb. It really does. When you don't have to work as hard to score the basket, when you don't have to work as hard to turn people over, because you've got enormous talent, the likes of which he's got coming in next year, it becomes easier. If you look at some of the Lady Vols sometimes right now, they scuffle to score a little bit from time to time. It turns into a, Talasia Cooper 5 out. I'm going to break you down, try to dribble drive, try to create by dishing out. That's great when it works. That's fantastic. But sometimes they'll go through these lulls, like the end of the season Georgia game, where they just can't score. And that's no knock on this team, but I'm just saying that as players get better in future iterations coming in, you won't have those droughts. You won't have those lulls, and you'll see us score a little easier on the offensive end.
Steve, great stuff as always, my man. We look forward to catching up with you again. We'll talk soon. Have a blessed day and a great week.
Dave and Caleb, man, I look forward to joining you guys hopefully next week, and we'll be celebrating the men having punched their tickets to San Antonio, and looking forward to next Monday night, the Lady Vols punching their ticket as well.
Absolutely. San Antonio, a great place to get a DUI.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's too much public drinking there. It's
well,
like
I thought you were going to go with a great place to go see the Alamo or something, but
not. No. All right, Steve, I appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, Steve.
It is one of those places like Vegas, Vegas or New Orleans. You get a DUI there, and nobody's like, oh, well, he's just enjoying the town.
Oh, they are in Vegas because they're like, why the heck were you driving in Vegas?
That's exactly right. But if you do drive in Vegas, you can just pull right up to the front. Did you know that? If you rent a car in Vegas, you can just pull right up to the front because nobody else is driving.
Oh, I never thought about that.
So you can pull right up to the front at any casino. It's bizarre. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. Weekdays, 10 a.m. on YouTube and beyond, wherever you stream. Like us on Facebook and more. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.